What the flick, everybody? Welcome. Billions, the third episode, our second recap. We did the first two this week. Alonso joining us now for Billions. Meredith. Michelle, sorry. Right, we just shot Downton Abbey with Meredith. Michelle Boley, Ben Mankiewicz, Alonso Duralde. So, YumTime, the appropriate name of this episode. So let's get to it, because Alonso wasn't here last week. So you're not as in Billions enthused.
I'm still giving it a shot. It's early, I'm a believer in that thing. If you got to give a show 6 episodes, really, to let them find their footing. I'm reading Matt Seitz's Mad Men Carousel book right now. So it's sort of reminding me about how great that show was and how skillfully kind of crafted a lot of those episodes were in terms of balancing their various subplots and kind of carrying a theme without beating over the head with it. And this one, I feel like, likes to stop for speeches periodically, you know?
I was hoping you'd get to that because I loved, I struggled with the first 15 minutes of the first episode. We talked about this last week. I won't dwell on it. But then it paid off so significantly when it turned out that was his wife.
Sure.
That I thought.
And I'm down for any show that has a half-naked, bound and gagged Paul Giamatti.
Sure, of course.
Sure. Who doesn't?
What American isn't? Right. So, but this episode, I thought, well, I love this show. I'm into it because I can't get enough of The Office. I mean, I could watch the Axe Realty or whatever, not Axe Realty, Axe Capital.
Holdings or, yeah.
I can watch everything that happens in that office every day, and I love her therapy sessions, and I love that dilemma that Maggie Siff had about knowing these two patients and how one was going to, and how she resolved that. I like all that. But that scene where he lectures the guy about the dog poop was just completely contrived for him to give that speech.
Yeah, like it felt like it's actor moment time.
Actor moment,
and Brody had one in episode 2, so
yes, he did. He definitely did. There's no question. This one felt like more like every arrow was like, okay, tune in. Here comes his speech.
Emmy clip.
right. And I didn't like that. We don't need it. He conveys that point in those office conversations. I love his office stuff too.
Yeah.
And also then, Michelle, I want to get your response. There was the Maggie Siff conversation with her new black friend who we hadn't met before.
Yeah, who just kind of
popped out of nowhere. I recognize her, and that's bothering me. But anyway,
not to be confused with Malin Ackerman's one black friend.
One black friend, right. Although and the black woman who worked her way skillfully onto the team,
into their team
at the U.S. Attorney's office.
Yes.
So
she's good.
But I hated that scene, that conversation, that felt like a
information dump,
and also a bad male writer's idea of what women talk about, right? Like I was like, there's no way this is quite right. This is not a real women's gab session.
Yeah, it didn't come across as genuine.
And I was like, ooh, Jesus, I hated that kind of, because then they were like, they wagged their finger at the end. I was like, oh God, Jesus, I haven't seen a scene that bad in a while. So those two scenes.
I want to hear Michelle's take on that then.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I thought it was awkward. I don't think women sit down and discuss things. And it's not that they were really having the conversation. They were kind of referring to a conversation I guess they'd already had. Oh, you were with that guy. Oh, yeah, you remember that thing you did? Oh, yeah, you did that thing. I was like, I didn't think it was necessary.
Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't either. I didn't know what it was doing there, but it didn't, it made my skin crawl, and that was 2 scenes in the episode that rubbed me wrong.
I like the relationship dynamics in terms of, I think, if this entire show were like just the husbands and wife scenes and just the office scenes, I think it'd be a lot stronger. But then, yeah, they kind of go off into these other areas. And I mean, I do sort of like the web where, like, how do I get to Giamatti's dad? Via the mistress with this company.
That counts as office stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, right. That was totally fun. This show does get into occasional, like, blah, blah, ginger moments for me, like The Big Short, where, like, I don't know anything about finance, and you're talking about projected earning, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, Zoom, No, there's a lot that I like about the show, and I'm committed to seeing it through at least. I'll give it the whole first season. But there's just every so often, you're right. There's these moments that just clang, and they're not as sharp as the good parts.
That's right. But I did like the watching. Is it Malin or Malin?
Malin.
Oh,
I interviewed her. It's Malin Ackerman.
All right, good.
He knows.
So Malin, I did like how she went after that woman. Like that was.
Oh, she's
evil. Although I hated both of them, but it was fun to watch that.
You totally hate both of them. Yeah, no, they're hateable. I mean, but just watching somebody of that much sort of privilege who has turned herself into a victim, and she is a legitimate victim, but has turned herself into a victim when it suits her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and watching her, not get into the proper spin class and getting shut out of the tea
Golf
time,
course, yeah.
and then getting her kid from Stanford. That was pretty great. Yeah.
And at least they avoided that big monologue there. They didn't even talk about it ever.
Yeah.
She just started affecting, and then she shows up. I love how she just pulled out the papers. And if you want me to sign a non-disclosure,
that'd be
what do
great.
you know? Here it is.
Yeah.
But then they
Loved
have
it.
the unnecessary Stanford line.
Yep.
Like we didn't need that. Like
We
we
all
know.
knew.
True, yeah.
If she'd said, I had a rough day. Turns out my kid didn't get into Stanford, and then if she could have said, "Oh, that's terrible." Well, we know the guy. Maybe I could make a call. Like
Yeah.
that would have suggested that obviously this is what she wanted. They've made peace, and she'll
Right.
call off.
Like
or
this-
we find out later.
Yeah, like for example, the scene in
Just see him get
the scene in the pizzeria works because he's trying to make the point about how you fucked up the ingredients. That's why these snack cakes aren't as good as they used to be. That was a neat scene, and it drags in his like working class thing, childhood, way better than that caddy scene in episode 2, which was just like so overdone. The 16 scene with the check.
16.
And about getting fired from the caddy job, and
Oh,
how
yeah,
that's his
totally,
only view. And I mean,
totally, yeah,
that was just that was the
That was
actory
that was
scene.
the one in that one. That
Yeah.
was the bad one in that
Yeah.
one. You're right.
So, so the pizzeria scene made sense, and it fit with the plot and all that other stuff. But then, that board meeting scene was a little
I loved it.
a little cartoony. The whole cocksucker thing was like, I didn't quite
Yeah,
buy
I mean,
it.
there's
Although, did you notice the chairman of the board was the asshole from the Nick?
Oh, totally. It's right. The who looked Hamey. Right.
Yes.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Took me a while.
I had to look him up, and I was like, yes, that's why I knew
got
that
it
weasel
before that.
from
I
somewhere.
was like, wait, glasses. He wears glasses in that show. It's the Nick. Right, yeah.
What about the whole ATM thing? They're
Oh,
going
yeah. Oh,
crazy. Like,
God,
this
I
film is,
really
like,
didn't need to know that.
So dirty. Yeah.
I like
There's
that
something
too.
about it. No, I like what they said,
yeah.
but I was like,
But
got a little.
Yeah, when they talk about ass to mouth in like Clerks 2, they just mean rimming, and this is a whole next level. It's like,
But I liked.
They did it. Yeah.
But I liked that way of because there was humanity. You think Wags is his name, right?
yes.
What's that actor's name? Do we know offhand? Because
David, he's the Weasley head of the CIA compound in 13 Hours.
Oh, is he? But
Yeah.
he's that's right. I saw him in one of the. I didn't see the movie, but I saw a photo
Yeah.
of him. And
He's one of the few good things in that movie.
he's great in Damages. Plays a menacing
okay.
bad cop in Damages. He's a terrific actor, and so I like that scene because you think he is just a misogynist, right? And then he has even in that moment, he's a terrible guy. He's a bad guy, and he's psychotic by the way he wants to crush this poor woman at the end. But even he has a moment of sort of revelatory humanity, when he is describing it as he doesn't think of it as power, but like that
Acceptance.
the acceptance of him. And then you're like, oh, there's a nice human moment. And so I got taken on this ride of, oh my God, what a terrible. Oh, okay, you're not. Oh no, you are horrible. And so I thought that was
That's
a nice.
adorable how you poop in their mouths.
I don't know if it's like my generation, but I'm having more trouble empathizing with these dudes at Axe Capital. Like, because I know you said that last week. You were rooting for them a lot, and I think
Yeah,
my
various moments,
generation, it's like a little like I don't know. I kind of want to see them all pay. Like, it's not good.
I think I want to see them also. I'm saying in moments you root for them. It's like the great
yeah.
thing that they do in The Americans, where you're tense and you're like, oh, please don't catch it. Wait.
What am I rooting
Right,
for?
what do I want? I want them to get this stuff to Brezhnev?
Yeah. It's like on The Soup when Joel McHale would say, "Think about what you're applauding for."
That's right.
And I mean, my takeaway from the pilot of this was like, oh, okay, so you're both fucks.
That's
Like
right,
I don't
that's
like
right.
either of you, and I guess I'm not sure who I want to succeed.
Different-
But you're both totally loathsome, even though you're operating on different sides of the street.
Different kinds of abuses of power. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw, unquestioned, you see it there. I mean, if you know full well, my idea of a noble prosecutor, if you know full well that the parents were roped in only as a means of hiding money for the criminal.
Yeah, unwittingly.
But
unwittingly-
he wasn't planning on arresting them. I mean, he would have if the guy
it's
didn't.
leverage. He's using him as leverage. If the guy didn't blink, he'd arrested him, but he would have let him go at the moment that he blinked. But I mean,
but he was going to call that bluff.
I want a prosecutor to do that though. Like I want a prosecutor.
I don't want them to pull in innocent people to leverage their ability.
Yeah, but that's the tricky thing. On the one hand, it's
do they
like
get away with
it's that thing of like I believe in the mission. Do I have to believe in all the methods? Well, it's like in a spy movie or anything else. It's like yes, sometimes the good guys have to do some really awful shit so that we can sleep at night. And that's one of the upsides of this show is that it's all about moral dilemmas. There's no clear cut good guy, bad guy
That's
here
right.
at all.
No,
You
no.
know.
And I want them to get the bad guys. I do, of course, in life, right? But, you know, we see what happens. Like, if you let them do stuff like that,
Yeah.
then you get making a murderer, where whether he did it or not, like, you know, the cops would defend themselves in making a murder with the gross, unbelievable miscarriage of justice is, whether he did it or not, that show is full of
Yeah,
great.
the confession of the nephew is still some bullshit, no matter what.
And planting evidence is both, but
Yeah.
cops
Yeah.
do it all the time when they think, I'm going to make sure this guy we know is guilty goes away. And
Right.
that's what motivated them in that case. But eventually, they're going to do it to the wrong person.
But if they were planning evidence, I think I would have felt differently. Like if they were making.
Yeah,
up
and maybe
something,
we'll
I
get
think I
there,
would
but
have
you're
been
right.
But
making
you
up
don't
something.
planning evidence, but you think arresting people you know to be innocent is okay. I'm not trying to.
No, to be innocent, but
But
they
as
were
a means to
involved.
getting the other fish to.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like arresting people you know to be innocent.
If he had
I don't-
arrested
I'm
him-
prepared to take
if
that
he had
stand.
I don't love it. Don't get me
no.
wrong.
A couple
I
of
see
Ted
it.
Cruz voters over here.
And no,
Oh yeah,
whoa.
I see it as a strategy.
Whoa.
I
I think
know.
it was a clear leap. I don't. Yeah.
No, Andy. Yes, definitely. Because these two.
Yeah,
Ted Cruz,
naturally.
Yeah. No, I just don't.
I love what he says about traditional marriage.
And women. I mean, it's all good. No, I just think if he had arrested them and that had been what had played out, I might feel differently about the scene. If I'd seen them sitting in jail, I might feel differently. But that guy clearly broke the law, isn't going to give an inch. Like, at what point can he just arrest that guy? I don't know.
I don't know.
what
Yeah, it
is
takes.
the-
Yeah, I don't know either. I
is-
got it. I mean, I see your Cruisian point. I hear you.
I did like
this is
dumping.
war.
I did like.
By the way, Ted Cruz let them all go. That's right, yeah.
Exactly. He could care less. I did like dumping on the Cologne guy. That was
That was a great
lot
hit.
of fun.
Anytime there's a meeting where a guy who's competent and in charge tells everybody else to shut up in the meeting, and then they don't, it's always funny.
Especially when it's Paul Giamatti. Doing
Paul
it.
Giamatti and just the other guy. His other guy is great.
Oh yeah,
his
second in
number
command.
2, who's having an affair with from the Americans with Stan's wife. That's who that.
Oh, that
That's who-
okay, yes.
And she's great, and she's way into that relationship. And the read on that relationship by the assistant U.S. attorney
Yep.
was great. She's like looking at the distance between them and the kick of his foot. She's like, huh, all right, so they're sleeping together. I loved that. So
Do we think they're going to uncover the mole before the end of the season? The cocaine lesbian? Are they going to figure out that she's feeding info to?
yeah, because
They
she's
have to,
Earth's
right?
worst spy.
Yeah, seriously. She's always just leering.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I'm just at coffee. Anybody?
Yeah.
The last one, she just left the door open and kept looking in.
And again, it's one of those situations where where obviously your correct play is going to Giamatti and saying, look, I had an affair and I did a little cocaine and these guys spied on me and now they're blackmailing you. I'm letting you know, Giamatti would be like, okay, well, if anybody sends me your hair, I'm not going to have it tested. Don't do any more coke. Thanks for coming to me. You're on the team.
Yeah, or if
For
anything,
sure.
like let's double agent you, you know,
Right,
and
totally,
give them
right,
shitty
right.
intel or something.
Yeah. There are a lot of, she's handling it. That's why I'd fire her for handling it so poorly.
Sure, yeah. Do all the cocaine you want. That's something.
So I don't know,
This is
just-
Wall Street.
Well, yeah, considering his life, like it doesn't really seem like he's like
and
a super judgmental person.
So that was the scene with the Cologne guy was great, right? A really nice moment of him, that guy blowing it. But then it didn't work. That guy was like, you don't have another guy. You didn't have another guy in here. Fuck off. I'm leaving. So I loved that. And then I loved their horse trading. I don't
Yes.
think you know how horse trading works.
Don't
Right, to
bring
the-
your mule for my
Right,
thoroughbred.
and to the black woman from the Eastern District, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And of New York, and then the assistant was like, I think she gets horse trading.
That was a great line.
Yeah, so I just feel like despite those scenes, and we've named 3, you're bringing up the scene from episode 2 and the 2 that I didn't like here and that Michelle didn't like either. So like that, in despite of that, I find myself with so much that I want to talk about, like so many great moments. Just the mere, again, the psychologist working in a firm like Axe Capital with all this access to information. It's kind of an ingenious way to get us what they're really thinking.
Sure.
Because I don't imagine anybody knows what they're really thinking because these guys aren't opening up to anybody.
Right.
And they've found a way to get us there. And I don't know, and the moral dilemmas that you mentioned, like that one with her, and each week is a different, I don't know, I'm super.
No, it's a good way to sort of prompt exposition. I also like how, for so long, I think in TV and movies, people who were into kinky stuff, it was this sort of like very kind of rarefied thing. And this is such a kind of domestic
Totally.
level of BDSM where it's like,
Yeah.
you want to just cuddle and have ice cream? Yeah, great.
And no, and then he's like butter
That was
pecan,
such a great scene.
and he goes, "I'll go downstairs to get it soft."
Soft.
Soft. So great.
I love that.
That's their safe word also.
It was I don't know. It was just it's good. We only one scene from Dollar Bill, so I didn't like this episode as much because we need more from Kelly O'Coin Dollar Bill. But I'm into it, man. I just even with the flaws in it, I walk through because there's just too much excitement. I'm jazzed during the show.
I'm more enthusiastic about it now that we've talked
good,
about
good,
it.
good,
I will say
good,
that.
all right.
So would you have picked up the poop? That was my
No.
question.
Also, no. You wait for you say, okay, I'll stand by it until someone else with a bag comes along.
Sure,
Yeah.
or I'll go get a bag and come back. I mean, it's not like
lived in that
Giamatti's so physically threatening
Thank
that you
you.
feel
Like
like
he doesn't
you
have, he can't.
Yeah.
He doesn't have arrest powers.
Did that guy even know he was the district attorney?
He did.
Did he?
He
Oh,
did.
okay.
You're
He
that guy.
said, "You're that guy," and he was
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
"Yes."
Which
I
at
was
first
like,
I thought
I
it just
know.
meant, oh, you're that guy who scolds strangers about poop. And then I realized, oh, no, you meant that guy
a
specifically.
newspaper, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
Reach into the trash can, find something.
something. You know, 2 Coke cans, right? But you don't do. That's another reason why that scene didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And I have dogs. I would be digging through
Or
the trash can.
you run. You know what?
Right. Yeah.
Giamatti's got like dress shoes on. He's not going to catch up with you.
Pick
Right.
up the little dog and
Yeah.
just take off.
Yeah. So again, just super contrived. That scene, every part of it didn't work, and it was what we opened with.
Yeah.
Right,
But
so-
again, I think a lot of times shows take a while to sort of
totally.
find their voice and their rhythm, and so ideally they'll reach a point where they realize that we've shown enough. We don't have to.
We don't
tell.
have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Right. I hope so. Anyway, but I'm in it. I'm into it either way. I'm already counting down the days. Thanks, guys. Back next week. More billions.